Bill Taylor, I haven't seen you in about a week.
Bro, it's been a minute. We have to catch up and do some catch in the parking lot. You know what? I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, you bought a baseball. I told you to buy a baseball mitt, and you did.
Yeah, you like, do you have a glove? And I said, man, I threw a glove out because it just got worn out a long time ago. Haven't needed one in a while. I'd love to throw.
It's like therapy out there. Just two dudes, anybody.
Throwing a hardball.
Slinging the rock out back.
Still
now we're back
it.
there. Productivity has gone down about 20%.
A little bit.
Like the sales team's trying to get to their parking lot, to get the car in the parking lot, and they're like ducking because we've got, we're working on a curveball.
The hard ball's coming. I've got the slider. I still got a little bit on the lefty because I played baseball. I had to switch to golf in high school because it was either baseball or golf up in New Jersey. It was the same season, and I loved both. And I was a pretty good pitcher because I was tall and I was lefty. But, man, I loved golf.
You got a nice little suntan going on right now.
Thanks. Yeah, playing a little bit lately.
That's not from the beach cabana.
You played, didn't you?
I did.
For the first time in a while?
Yeah, first time in like 3 years. I was in Nashville over the weekend with a couple buddies, a little bachelor party. Bachelor party capital of the
you're lucky
world.
to be back in San Antonio.
I was just saying, you throw a Frisbee and you hit like a group with like a veil and like, oh, it's my bachelorette party and it's...
Right?
Yeah, but you're able to get out there because... if it was a bachelor party like in the fall, like on a football Saturday, football Sunday, it's probably not happening. I mean, because we're hunkered down here, and that's prime time down here in the state of Texas.
So this is your off season, right?
Yeah, I mean, then Popovich retires, and Spurs get the number 2 pick, and UTSA baseball might be swinging around to the College World Series.
Doing really well, didn't they? They just broke a record of 40 wins in a season.
Yeah,
right?
42 wins right now. 42 wins right now, and it looks like they might be fixing to get an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. But I want to know what Jeff Traylor's doing in the off. Does he get like a week to just go find a beach and just go chill out?
Right.
Let's ask him.
Put his toes in the sand. You want to ask him?
Let's ask him.
He's sitting right here. It's raining threes and head coach UTSA football Jeff Traylor. Good to see you, brother.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
Coach, you got any time to take like a couple days vacation, you and Carrie just get out and kick the feet up or something like that?
Not yet, but it's coming. We're still bringing in recruits. You recruit, nonstop nowadays with the new wave of college football. Because every time a player, enters the portal, you've got to go replace him. So you're literally, your roster is always evolving. But then you get the month of June, and it's all evaluation of high school players at camps, and so that pretty much takes all of June. Your players now, you now have what's basically, we call them OTAs. So we practice football twice a week as they're lifting and still in school. So that's pretty much all summer, where used to you did have some time to get away. But if you literally take a week, that's 1 week you're not going to be there with your players. And in the new world, you need to be there for practice, those OTAs, which we do them twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. So, but we've got a family vacation planned the last week of June.
Good.
I think July 4th is pretty safe for coaches. Then THSCA here in San Antonio again, and then you got A&M pretty quickly.
You got to change the scenery because, I mean, you've got to look at something different for a few days, don't you? Just for your mental health?
And even then, like right now, it's not extremely stressful. When you're in the office, it's not like crazy on you. But to your point, Bill, just being there all the time, it just literally becomes, a grind, to be honest with you. What's the old saying? Change of pace, change of place, change of perspective is such a true saying. And I do see why people take real vacations and say, I'm going to be gone these 10 days at this place. I see the beauty in that. And all our kids are going to be there, and I'm excited to do that.
So I remember you telling us, Coach, that during the season, most nights, I mean, most mornings, you're awake at like 3, 4 in the morning?
Yeah, my mind just, I'm in the office by 5.
Wow.
I'm preparing for a team meeting. It takes me a good 30 to 45 minutes. Alex Nicasio, my video guy, he is really good at culture, and he loves culture talk. So him and I meet at 5 in the mornings all season long to prepare for our team meetings. And, that's a grind, no doubt. And you add the stress on top of it. It's like I've always said, the students and the players, it makes it all worth your time. When you're with them there's nothing better. It's the adults that have messed up a wonderful game, not the student athlete.
So is it like being on the field is like a drug for you then? That's what keeps you going?
It's just, I've said it a million times. I've been a head coach for 20 seasons now, and same phone number, and not once do they ever hit me up about a championship. And I've been very blessed. We've won a lot of championships. We've won a lot of games. There's not one phone text ever about a game or a championship. It's always about advice on a child, advice on a marriage, kidney transplant. What do I do, coach? Pray for me.
Wow.
It's never once about, do you remember when we beat OU in 15? Remember when we beat Jasper in 2004? Hey, what about the catch against UAB? No, Oscar Cardenas has never texted me like that stuff. Yeah. Frank Harris never texted me that stuff.
I think that's what's so special about a coach is that you become a dad, you become a granddad, a therapist. I mean, you really take ownership of their lives, not just as athletes.
Yeah, it's literally been a coaching philosophy of mine since I've done it. I mean, it's literally how many men out of how many boys. I've been a head coach for 20 seasons. So that means I've had the opportunity to influence 30 boys per senior class. So simple math, 20 times 30 is around 600. I've had the opportunity to influence 600 boys. And our definition of a man, a boy takes from his family, he takes from his church, he takes from his state, he takes from his country. He's a boy. He can't provide yet. A man takes care of his church. A man takes care of his family. A man takes care of his state, takes care of his country, takes care of his alma mater. That's what men do. And I tease them all the time. I said, look, when I die and I'm getting buried at the First Baptist Church of Gilmer, Texas, if I were to raise up out of my casket and turn and look in the audience, and if all 600 of you showed up and I ask you if you were a man or a boy, what are you going to be able to tell me on that day? Now, I know that's being extremely silly, and it's a terrible analogy, but it is something I use with my players around the clock.
That's so good.
Damn, can you imagine being on a Friday night in Gilmer, Texas? I'm 14 years old, and I'm in the back of the locker room, and Coach Traylor's
right?
pitching it to me. Oh, my gosh. I'd be jacked up, ready to go. I mean, because that's where you cut your teeth in the high school ranks. And, Coach, congratulations on your recent inductions. You know about this, PT?
No.
We're in the presence of a Hall of Famer. Texas High School Football Hall of Fame.
Congratulations.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story.
Wow.
I've been very blessed, right? You win a lot of awards along the way. So your children pretty much become numb to all of it. So I'm not sure any of the three were going to make it into Waco to see me get inducted into the Hall of Honor. But then they found out Patrick Mahomes was going in with me, and all of a sudden it became very real, and they all wanted to be there for Patrick. That was pretty humbling, trust me.
So you got to sit next to Patrick. I think it was at the initial ceremony a couple of weeks ago. It was Coach Traylor, Patrick Mahomes going in together. Did you guys chop it up in any way?
We did.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really cool. I had the fortune or misfortune of going against Patrick 2 years in high school, and then when I got hired at the University of Texas, Patrick was also the starting quarterback at Texas Tech. So I got to go against Patrick 4 straight years in a row. Well. So we chopped it up pretty good. And him and Hunter Ritterman are very good friends. They were teammates at Texas Tech, and they still stay in touch. So Patrick, believe it or not, keeps up with the Roadrunners, and even said so at the banquet.
Mm-hmm. Really?
I always had so much respect for Coach Traylor, and not only at Gilmer, but what he's done at UTSA.
Yeah, he's a cool kid. Awesome. He's a really cool kid.
Yeah, that's really
and cool. Probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. All right, back to Gilmer, Texas. When did you know that you wanted to be a football coach?
I always knew. Really? I was lucky in that sense from a very, very young age. That's all I ever wanted to do. Like you could look in my annual where it says, where are you going to be in 10 years? And, I graduated from Gilmer, and I literally said I'm going to be the head coach of the Gilmer Buckeyes. I didn't make it in 10, but pretty close to 10. I always knew. I don't know why that is. My parents are not coaches. They're both double music majors. They're both educators, but nothing to do with sports, like neither one of them. I know they shoved music down me and my two brothers' throats, so we probably revolted and went sports. I don't know where it came from. My earliest memories are probably like most guys that are, around 50 is Tom Landry and Roger Staubach. Other than that, I don't know of what that is. I can't tell you, but I always knew that's what I wanted to do. So luckily when I was at Stephen F. Austin State University, I had no wasted classes. I wanted to be a coach from the jump street. So got out pretty quickly and jumped into high school ball at Big Sandy, Texas, and then Jacksonville, and then Gilmer, and boom, now y'all are stuck with me.
And the notion of just being an educator, right? You said, I believe you said your father was a music teacher in the school system for a long time. Did you see kind of the impact that, I guess, because as a football coach, you're an educator as well, too, that notion of impacting a young person's life in that way?
Yeah, my dad was a high school counselor, band director, principal for his 40 to 50 years of being an educator. And my dad, a very similar spirit to mine. He was always bringing kids home. We were always bringing in the knucklehead that needed a chance, needed somewhere to stay, needed a dinner, needed a meal. I'm sure that had to do with the spirituality as well, but I know that was the heart of an educator. And my mother, was the best elementary teacher in the school for about 40 years. And that's probably where my heart for kids comes from, but not quite sure where the football coaching. I actually started out as a basketball coach as well. For 10 years, I coached basketball. Probably my true love was basketball. It's such an easier sport to coach because the kids love to play. They love to practice. Football's a tough sport. Basketball players are tough too. It's just not as enjoyable.
But you're not going to get smacked.
As a player, I enjoyed going to basketball practice every day. I loved shooting hoops. Still do.
Yeah.
Football practice, I did not really enjoy as a player. I loved the games. Practices were always really hard. So it's funny that I ended up being a head football. I was a head basketball coach, pretty much a decade. And I've been a head football coach for 20 years.
Are you the oldest of your family?
I am.
Of your kids?
I've got my middle brother, Kurt, coached our offensive line. We've coached together for since the 90s. And then my baby brother, Andy, builds homes, and he's back in East Texas and takes care of my mom.
And when you've talked about this too, just from being around your press conferences the last couple of years, but when you're coaching a high school sport, when you're coaching an elementary school sport, you're often doing a lot of other things at the school too, right? Like sometimes you're teaching one subject, you're teaching another. How many different hats were you wearing, I guess, at your most peak elementary school or high school teaching stage?
That's when I started, because you're young and stupid, and you think if they give you Texas history, U.S. history, government, and world history, that's a compliment. You don't realize that's 4 different preparations for each class.
They must love me.
It's the history is the common denominator.
I coached football. I was the offensive coordinator. I was the head basketball coach, assistant baseball coach, and I was the head tennis coach. And I'm thinking 4 sports. I mean, they love me, right?
Wow.
Driving a bus, Yes, this is awesome, right? Then your paycheck comes, and it's $19,000 a year, and it's maybe $900 a month, and you're like, I'm working 100 hours a week.
Yeah, easy.
Math ain't math.
Right. Was it something where like they had one instance where like the bus broke down or something like that, and you're just like, what am I doing here? Was there ever a kind of a?
I think back many times, being 22. And knowing how old my children are now, and to think that I'm driving a big yellow dog to Troop, Texas from Big Sandy or to Bullard or Winona, and I'm responsible for all the ninth grade teams on the bus, the JVs on the bus, and the varsities on the bus. And you probably had one assistant for all 3 teams, and it's just me responsible for all those kids. It's a miracle that we're all still here, man.
Right. Who inspires you? I mean, we talk about great coaches like, I think of Vince Lombardi first. But who did you look up to as a coach?
The one I studied the most was John Wooden. We just kind of aligned. He was an educator, English teacher, loved to read, poetry. A lot of my philosophies, I'd say most of them, come from him. And obviously I had no personal relationship with John Wooden, just tons of reading. It just makes sense to me. Like, he believes any coach that's coaching a fool on the sideline didn't coach during practice. He thinks the greatest coaches, cross their legs. They watch their players go play. Right. And they're not needed very much because he's done such a great job of coaching during the week.
That the game is something to watch.
Yeah, I really have strived to be more like that. So there are many times I've been told before, like, you're so stoic, or do you even care? You look like you're almost not involved at times. And I'm like, well, then that's my greatest job of coaching. When I'm having to do too much over there, it means I'm having to strike a chord for somebody that I probably didn't get done during the week. A lot of that is from Coach Wooden, and so, believe it or not, tons of coaches have followed his lead. So there's a lot of guys in our profession that might not say it was John Wooden. It might have been somebody more recent for them, but I promise you all that probably came back, from John Wooden.
Do you see how your background as a high school coach, because it happens a lot with college coaches now in football and the NCAA, but why your background as a high school coach is something you're thankful for, I guess, now as a college coach?
Oh, for so many reasons. I was very blessed. Carrie and I started at a very young age. We started having kids. We got married very young. We started having kids very young. So I turned down, probably 6 to 7, not great college jobs, but good college jobs to stay in Gilmer to be with my kids. I mean, I taught them Sunday school. I was their youth baseball coach. I was JC's youth basketball coach. I coached all the boys in basketball. I coached all my kids. I was very present their entire lives. And when the University of Texas called, JC was a freshman. That was tough, coming from Gilmer to Lake Travis. Jake was a senior. That was tough. Jordan was already at A&M. But their formative years have been set. I was there. And I'm not saying JC didn't, have to go through some stuff transferring to Lake Travis, which is a wonderful experience for her. But you can imagine being, an all-world setter at Gilmer, going to Lake Travis, one of the best programs in the country. It was super hyper competitive, which was so good for her now. But going through all that, so I guess my point being, it was a real blessing for personal reasons. Professional is a whole nother story, because in high school you don't get to recruit. You just take what you got. You got to figure it out. And one of the things I'm most proud of, even here, is our record in November. We tend to figure stuff out. We've only lost 2 games here in the entire month of November in 5 years. As a high school coach, only lost 2 games in the month of November in 15 years. We're pretty good at figuring stuff out. I think that comes from my high school background about, hey, Owen's really good at this stuff. Let's stop doing that. Frank Harris, he was really good at this stuff. Let's keep him in that lane. Yeah. I think that comes from being a high school coach.
You have blessed this program. I mean, I watched, of course, UTSA football begin, and now under your leadership, the most successful Roadrunner football has ever seen, the most success in a program. So congratulations. It's a phenomenal success rate now. Tell me how close, because I thought we were going to lose you to Texas A&M. How close was that?
Yeah, each one of those stories is slightly different. I've been extremely, extremely blessed. When you win a lot of games, you have a lot of opportunities to talk to people. Some of those were real job offers, and some of those were just job interviews. And I really don't want to get into the specifics of all that. I'm really grateful here. I mean, it's no false talk, no coach talk. My wife and I love it here. We underachieved last year. We should have won 10 to 11 games, which we've done a lot here, and we didn't last year. And there's always fans that are upset. I'm not trying to paint that picture, but the people of this city are just so grateful and respectful to Carrie and I. I will never get that anywhere else in my career. I was lucky. I was kind of Gilmer's own. I really was one of their own. So I got cut that kind of slack there because they were not very good, and we got them really good, and those people are still grateful back home. I feel very similar here. Like, I am their coach. I mean, the people in this city, and I wear this white cap everywhere I go, and I mean, everybody treats Carrie and I with just, and I'm not so sure I would have with the start we got off to this year. Now, we finished like gangbusters, and I know we've got a lot of momentum going and a lot of young kids coming back, and I'm excited about that. But let's be honest, man, we took some tough losses last year, and our fan base was just so loyal. And the people that matter the most to me, that have helped me the most, were the truest in those worst times. And I won't forget those phone calls. I won't forget those texts. I won't forget that. And I'm grateful, as Carrie and I both are, to be here.
How did that process play out of you getting to UTSA? Because you were at Arkansas, right? Wasn't a pretty crazy kind of, you were in one city and then
one of the coolest stories. I always wanted this job. When I was at the University of Texas, I won the Big 12 Recruiter of the Year, and I applied for this job. Now, Lynn Hickey swears she never saw my resume. She never knew it came across, and I trust Lynn on that. My agent didn't do a very good job, obviously, but they hired Frank Wilson, and I always wanted this job. And when we got to Arkansas, we didn't do very well, and this job came open. And I'm like, well, I blew it. I'm never going to get that thing now. And I had my agent send it in. Search firm was for me. I had interviewed at SMU and done a very good job, so the search firm here had brought my name up. Now, President Amy and Dr. Campos denied this, but the search firm they both said, he didn't do real well at Arkansas. It's just not a good look for us. So they interviewed 7 other guys, and all 7 brought up my name, supposedly the way the story goes, in the interview. And the search firm called me on a Friday night. I was in Houston at the Marriott about to interview for another job the very next morning. But that particular job called me that night and said, can we move your interview to Sunday? We've had something come up, and we want to see you on Sunday now. So I had nothing to do on Saturday.
Right.
So at 10 that night, search firm calls, says, President Amy, Dr. Campos, would like to bring you on an interview. Are you free tomorrow? And I'm like, you won't believe this. I'll go even further on that story. On Wednesday of that week, I was at Arkansas. Turner Gill, who's a dear friend of mine, was a great quarterback at the University of Nebraska.
Former Kansas, yeah.
Chris Vaughn, who's a Dallas Cowboy.
Deuce's father.
Yeah, Deuce's father. You're on your stuff there. I like it, Nate. Both those guys at different times, one in the morning, one in the evening, said to me, what's wrong with your spirit right now? And I'm like, I've always wanted that UTSA job, and I'm interviewing for this other job. And both men said the same thing to me. They both said, I pray somewhere someone is speaking your name and somehow God gets the credit for it. Both men said the exact same thing. And I asked them, did they know each other? And both of them got after me pretty good because they're both African-American. And both of them said the same thing, like, Jeff, I know you don't know that not all African-Americans know each other. Yeah. We don't all know each other. I'm like, Chris, literally Turner Gill said the same thing you said.
Y'all said it at the meeting on Tuesday,
yes. Are y'all having some Zoom? Y'all are like working me over right now. As I reflect back, that those men, however many it really were, that mentioned my name in front of Dr. Campos and President Amy, because all of them wanted to bring me with them. And I was going to be their offensive coordinator and their lead recruiter because I know the state of Texas so well. And I guess they just kept helping me out. I know factually one of them was true because I know it was Joey McGuire. And I know Joey told me that. And I know Barry Odom factually told me that. So I know I can verify too. The rest came from the search firm that told me that. You can't get President Amy and Dr. Campos to ever admit to any of this, which I understand that they're my bosses. They don't have to.
Right. You've done your own forensic investigation.
And they hired me, and I'm very grateful. And I hit the ground running. I haven't looked back, and it's just been an absolute blast of 5 years.
Coach, I hear so much humility, gratitude. How important is your faith?
Yeah. It gave me confidence, and it always has. I know who I am. Like I really do believe what I say. I do believe I'm uniquely made by God. And big nose, big ears, big lips, a lot of teeth. All of it's the way God made me. I know I've got some quirks. I've got some Jeff Traylorisms. I've got some mannerisms that I've embraced. Instead of been ashamed of. I wouldn't have had that confidence without that from the Lord. I truly believe that. And it doesn't mean I don't get down. It doesn't mean I don't have doubt. But, 2 Timothy 1:7, the Lord does not give us a spirit of timidity, but of power and of love and of self-discipline. And I cling to those verses in those moments. And this year was one of those years. I got rocked to the very bottom. We lost some games we've never lost here before. Historically, since I've been a coach, we've won all those close games. We've found a way. And this year, early in the season, we found ways to lose those games, and we didn't figure it out to the end. But it's where my philosophies come from. It's where the 2-1-0 triangle of toughness comes from. Obviously, in today's times, you've got to be very careful of how you word things. And you don't have to preach it and talk it. I love the quote that I might be the only Bible someone reads today.
Exactly.
And they might not have to hear me, but they might just read me by the way I live.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Where did the triangle of toughness originate?
Yeah, that's a great question. We didn't have it at Gilmer. I was there 15 years. Very similar, though. I brought in my seniors at Gilmer, and I just asked them, like, what does this place need? And they kept saying the pride is back. We need to get the pride back. We don't have any pride. We need the pride to come back. So just me and my common sense, I'm like, okay, let's just make an acronym for the word pride. Let's just come up with. So the kids chose P. We're going to be positive at all times. R. We're going to be respectful to all of our elders, all of our bosses. I. We're going to be people of integrity. D. We're going to have discipline, and E. We're going to do it every play. So I was just creative, and I put the word pride on the back of everything, the back of their shirts, the back of their shorts, the back of their cap, and that was our deal at Gilmer. And right now,
it's like straight out of like Varsity Blues.
25 years, yeah. 25 years later, same assistants. Those are all my former players. Those are all my former coaches. They're still. I can do it right now. Pride, pride, claps. Anyway, so when I got this job, or when I was interviewing for the other job, I didn't know I was getting this one. I literally said to all my former coaches and players, about 150 of them, like, these are the words we used at Gilmer. Am I ludicrous? Will this work in college? Will it not work in college? I included Matt Brown, Matt Rule, Joey McGuire, guys that were also influences in my career. And all of them were like, Jeff, just be you. Like be Gilmer and the other place. I didn't know I was interviewing for this place yet. So that's the triangle. If you really look at it, it came from Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete's all, because I am a basketball guy. I'd throw it 80 times a game is up to me. You can't win championships every year. You got to be able to stop the run. I'm not telling y'all that y'all don't know. Run the freaking football and be really good on special teams. That's more of a reminder to the head coach. My nature is let's just outscore them and be entertaining. I'm a basketball coach at heart. So that's kind of, to me, the culture pillars. We changed those a little bit. We made integrity. I'm not going to take you through all those things. And then when I got the job, I couldn't vote for my numbers at Gilmer because I was too deep into it. I was 31 when I got the job. So I wasn't going to change. We had so much success. I wasn't going to start voting for numbers in high school. But I always said to myself, if I got a job somewhere else, I'm going to vote for those single-digit numbers. Then Matt Rule and I became very close, and Matt called me one evening, and he said, I tell you what you need to do. You need to make it the 2-1-0 triangle of toughness. And don't just have the single digits be the big deal. Make the 2, the 1, and the 0 the most important 3 of the single digits. I'm like, Matt, that's freaking brilliant. Matt Rule.
Coach, what happens if UTSA runs into Nebraska in a bowl game?
I don't even know if Matt's still doing it. I don't know. I haven't even checked it out at Nebraska. I know he did it at Baylor. I know he did it at Temple. Yeah. I haven't asked him. I haven't even asked him about that. I'm not sure how smart it is anymore with the transfer portal and NIL. Yeah. But I was going to do away with it after about 3 years. I was afraid it's going to influence kids, and their decisions. And my guys are like, Coach, we're going to keep this thing. And so that's where all that came from. A lot of former players, a lot of former coaches. I've raised 3 children, and Carrie and I have done a really good job of that. And the greatest form of leadership is when someone else thinks it's their idea. When you get buy-in from ground up. Now, some people call that manipulation. My children call that manipulation.
Yeah, right.
But when I can truly make y'all understand and believe why we're trying to do it and empower y'all, it's going to work better. Mm-hmm. Then I know I have the authority to make you do it.
But we've got to believe it.
There's no doubt. Yeah. There's just no doubt. So these are literally when these players, and I didn't do a good job last year. I took a step backwards. I didn't hold my kids to the triangle. I didn't hold them to the standard. I was so worried about losing them in the portal. I turned some cheeks on some things. I looked away on some things that I'm very regretful for. And we were not as disciplined as a football team. We did not play to the standard. And I'm not going to do that again. I'm not. I've got to be true to who I am and not let this portal affect the way I coach my team. But guess what? I've had to really explain to my players, we're going back like 2019, boys. Like that locker is going to be nice. You're not going to be late to tutorials. The smallest things. If we say you're going to eat this nutrition, you're going to understand the nutritionist wants you to eat this and you're going to eat it. So we've kind of buttoned our stuff back up because I've done a real self-reflection. I think I didn't stay true to the triangle last year, to be very honest with you.
And you're saying you hit some dark valleys in last season. Did you learn the most in your coaching career last year?
Yeah, I'll never forget when we were 3-5. The Hall of Honor in Waco called me, and the THSCA called me to induct me in their Hall of Fame as well. And I remember saying to Joe, who's the head of our THSCA, and I remember saying to Charles Brydup, who called me to tell me I was going in, I said, look, y'all know I've never had a winning season. You know I just blew a 35-7 lead to Tulsa. You know I've got Memphis next week. They're top 25. Y'all know I'm about to get booed in my home stadium for the first time ever, and y'all are just throwing me a freaking softball right now trying to pick my spirits up. And they're like, no, Jeff, this is all legit. You made it. It's long overdue. And I remember being that low that week. I told President Amy and Dr. Campos, I'm like, I'm going to get booed this week. Understand it's never happened. We haven't ever lost at home, really. Every game's gone down, triple overtime, very last play. There's never been a moment to boo the head coach. I'm going to get booed, and I just don't want y'all shocked. I'm preparing myself for that. And I told my coaches, I'm like, this could get rough. We were extremely injured. We were an extremely fragile team. And my coaches were like, Coach, these kids are 10 toes down. They really think they're fixing to beat Memphis. I mean, we think we're fixing to beat Memphis. I said, boys, I don't see that. I don't see that. Wow. And my coaches.
That was a game where you didn't think you could win going into Memphis.
And then Willie McCoy, baby was born the night before and couldn't make it to the game. And we were really down to Chris Carpenter, and that was it at receiver. The rest were out. And Amador came back that week, who had missed the entire season. And, man, Owen played out of his stinking mind. Our whole team played out of their stinking mind. And, man, we got hot, and those next 6 weeks were a lot of freaking fun. But I remember saying those words. Wow. Like, y'all are just giving me some pity right now. They literally were like, Coach, you've never had a losing season. I'm like, yeah, we're fixing to have one. They're like, no, you're not. Your guys are – and Owen's grandfather was there that week, Pat McCown, who and I are very close. And Pat's like, Jeff, your team is not practicing like a 3-5 football team. Y'all look like the same team I've watched come win championships here. They're still flying around. They've got energy. They've got juice. You're not that far away. And I'm literally like, Pat, what in the hell are you looking at? Like, you're not seeing what I'm seeing right now. Did you watch the game last week? Did you see the lead we blew? And those kids, man, they hung in there, and we rallied out of that thing.
It couldn't have been the outside noise or like the media that was talking about UTSA down. I mean, couldn't have been, Coach. You're too good to us as the media.
You know,
you give us the best one-liners.
You really do, man.
The fish grease is the best.
That was the opener. I remember that night,
and the best one.
That was one of the first sound bites I heard from you. That you when you first saw your wife Carrie.
My wife, Carrie, 28 years. Better talk about her. Hotter than fish grease, right down in the front row.
You said, boy, she's hotter than fish grease.
I go back to the north side of Chicago. They're like, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, another great story about that, Dr. Campos will kill me because I do love her. She and I literally worked, and it was Kyle and their team to write me my speech that day. And it was all written and typed out, and it was ready to go. And I usually have about 3 thoughts, big general things written down, a couple of little things around to sprinkle in. And I got up there and I looked at her and I reached in my pocket and I said, I don't know if I said I got to be me or I got to be true to me, or I don't know what I said. And I pulled that piece of paper out and I saw Dr. Campos literally put her head down. Like, I know where this is headed. Yes. And I was, and her and I have had an unbelievable relationship. But, I've got some Jeff Traylorisms that are probably good for us and not so good for us. No one's going to stand up in the stands and hold up a sign that says, poor Jeff. Now, he ain't been snake bit at home. Probably a little fat and sassy because we've won 2 games in a row. And tough people do tough things. I'm not going to be able to spend all the money they give me at UTSA. What do I need all that other money for? The grease, the fish grease in another way. It's been hotter than fish grease the last 3 weeks, and this time not in a positive way. You know, I truly, and I say this to not be arrogant, when the season starts, I mute. I don't unfollow anyone. I mute everyone. Like, I don't want to make one decision because something one of y'all might have said. And if I ever get interviewed, I want y'all to know, like, truly in my spirit, like, he made his decisions based on what he thought was his team, not from outside noise. So I mute everyone. Now, I do, when the season's over, I unmute everybody because I got to stay in tune. I got to stay on top of my game because there's a lot to do from January to August. But as soon as August gets here, and I know when that A&M game comes, the bullets going to start flying, figuratively, not literally. Everybody will get muted again, and I'll try my best to not let Greg make me angry. And as soon as I lost my temper once on Greg, you know how that is. I'm in church the next Sunday, and it's like I don't remember which pastor it was, but it was like he was listening to my press conference. He said, "You should never ever speak. You should always halt." Another acronym of if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Yep.
And I had just lost to Tennessee and pretty much got the heck beat out of us. And Greg asked me a question, and I didn't answer it real well, to be honest with you. I'm kind of ashamed of how I handled it that day. And I said, was I hungry? I'm like, yeah, I was starving. Was I angry? I'm like, yeah, I was absolutely furious. Was I lonely? Oh, you don't feel like you have a friend in the whole world in those moments. Tired? Oh, yeah. I mean, we work 100 hours. I'm like, I had all four. So every time I try to go in front of the media, I literally try to pray myself up like, we're going to halt before we speak.
Well, because your son Jake, obviously, you telling us as a member of the media, it's giving you that different perspective.
This
is huge.
It has, Jake.
And congratulations on Jake and all your children's success.
And Jake's
so
your oldest?
He's my middle one.
Middle.
My oldest, Jordan, is the co-offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
Been with the Saints the last 6 years. Kevin hired him this year. So he's there. And then my middle son, Jake, works for Politico. He's actually in the White House today.
Wow.
Jake, it gives it to me from a different perspective. Like he gives it to me from y'all's perspective. And it's good for me to hear it from that perspective. And I'm sure, like I see y'all some. I see JJ and Greg like daily. Mm-hmm. So, that's a little different relationship.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes they're almost like brothers or cousins. I feel like I can just speak to them how I really want to and not go coach talk. And Jake does a good job of explaining to me y'all's perspective. And it's helped me halt and maybe give better answers than maybe I would have in the past.
Now, Jake's somebody who, of course, covers news on a very high level, but he made some big news that I know you were proud of, too. Tell that story.
That was pretty cool. It was very sad, the assassination attempt. But when Rachel Scott put that out there about my son, Jake didn't see it as a big deal. He just thought that's what he's supposed to do. And, when you're a dad, that's pretty cool. And it's brought him a lot of attention that he doesn't really want, but he really loves Rachel. And she's a good friend of his. And she continues to sing Jake's praises. At the White House Correspondents' Dinner, his mom showed me where she said something else nice about my son. And he was in attendance and got to be there. So I always told my kids their entire lives, pick out something you would do. And if you never got paid a dime, you'd still do it. And Jordan wanted to coach football, and he's doing that. And Jake wanted to tell stories and see if somebody would pay him to tell stories. And now he's getting to tell stories. Mm. And my daughter, she loves to write. And she loves comedy and loves stories herself. And both of them, got some journalism in their background, but it's not what their majors were. And, of course, JC works for Jimmy Fallon. So she's in Manhattan. So I got one in 30 Rock, one in the White House today, and one coaching with the Vikings. So they've done way better than their father and mother, I can promise you.
Powerhouse. And that's the whole idea of parenthood, right?
Yeah, my mom doesn't agree. My mom thinks I'm a traitor. I've taken all of her kids from Gilmer, Texas. I've got one in Manhattan, one in Washington, and one in Minneapolis, and we're not all in Gilmer. on a compound like she had visualized.
Coach, so this is just something for me, just because I'm from Chicago originally, but my parents, I know they sit at home and they'll, pull up the computer and they'll watch our newscasts here, and I don't really think much of it. I'm like, you don't need to but they always say, they're like, Nate, no, it's our way of staying connected to you.
Yep.
It makes you feel like you're home, and I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't really think much of it. But is that kind of you at home sometimes when you sit up and you just find like your way to stay connected is watching the Vikings, watching Jake's reports, watching doing stuff like that?
I'm really happy about Josh McCown also coaches the Vikings, and Josh is almost like a strange like father son, but brother too, because I was so young when I was coaching Josh. Our age difference is not that crazy difference. So Josh is, whenever his teams played, I was a nervous wreck. Whenever Jordan's teams played, I'm a nervous wreck. Whenever Will Stein's teams play, I'm a nervous wreck. Barry Lunny Jr. There's certain people that I'm extremely close to. So at least now that Jordan and Josh are together, I'm not a nervous wreck during the Saints game and the Vikings game. It'll just be the Vikings game. Kerry does a really good job of showing me when Jake's on and what he's written about. It's easier for me to find what he writes about. Somehow it shows up more on my phone for some reason. But Kerry always makes sure we see him when he's on the news. He's gotten better. I can tell he's getting more comfortable. He's feeling better in his own skin. And then my daughter, she has to live in the shadow of those two boys and her father, and she's a tough girl. And she's battling up there. I always ask her all the time about what she does. And, she always minimizes what she's a lot like her father. She puts herself down way too much. And I hate that I've kind of modeled that because she's gorgeous and tough and smart. But I know being in the shadow of those two boys, that would be tough. Mm-hmm. And she's a bigger rock star than both those boys are.
But that there's also some humility in that, which is a good thing.
I hope.
Right?
That's what I've tried to practice. But, you want your kids to always get all they want out of this deal.
Absolutely.
And she's smarter than both of them. She's tougher than both of them. She's just the baby. And she doesn't want to be known as the baby. She wants to make her own way. And, being a parent, that's something Kerry and I have just been extremely blessed on. Like, we argue about a lot of things. We're a typical 33 years of marriage, husband and wife. We see things way different on almost every subject except how to raise our kids. I think both of us being educators, Kerry was a principal for many, many years and a teacher. I think we just aligned on how to raise our kids. And, we're one big happy dysfunctional family. That's awesome. That's how we describe ourselves.
I'm sitting here on the end of the couch. I'm like, this is hitting me hard, man. I'm staring life down the chute. This is great, man. Coach, thank you so very much for coming out here and hanging out.
Yeah, really appreciate it. One last question that I have is, as a coach, it is business, and of course, with your children, as you mentioned, but is there a time where you're able to be a fan and really unplug and watch a game as a fan, or is that something a coach just can't do anymore?
Yeah, I try to do that when I'm with boosters, Super Bowl parties, bowl games where I'm watching with friends and boosters. But I've taped the game at the house. I'm going to go home and watch no commercials, rewind every play. It's almost sick. My wife gets exhausted by it. My coaches get exhausted by it. It's truly my passion. Like, I was at a deal this weekend in Florida where our agent brings in the greatest speakers. Roger Goodell was there, one of the attorneys that's settling this case right now in the House. I don't miss any of those speakers, like not one. It's just a passion of mine. I love to learn. I'm a life learner. I know God made me that way, and I just love learning. So sadly, there is a time where I would do that with friends, but that means I tape the game at the house. And as soon as I get home and Kerry goes to bed, I'm watching the game, and I'm gonna find some fourth down call, some red zone call, something that can make me better.
Is it a lot of A&M games right now? Is that what we're watching?
Has
the scout started for Kyle Field?
There's no doubt that Texas State, UIW, and Colorado State. I mean, you're watching all four. We got an unbelievable non-conference schedule. Like if you look at those teams, you got an 8-win A&M team, you got an 8-win Texas State team, 11-win UIW team, an 8-win Colorado State team. Kyle and I looked it up on the way here. Only one time in the history of our school, 2015, have we had a tougher schedule as far as wins and losses.
So the one that's coming.
Yes, sir. We'll find out, soon. And we're on the road versus A&M. We're on the road versus Colorado State. And we'll find out quickly if the Roadrunners are ready for 2025.
Coach, what's your favorite play, your number one play, the one that you love more than any other?
No doubt. 4 verticals. I mean,
Let's go.
I just want to throw it deep. And
send them deep.
At the worst, you're going to check the ball down to your running back or your quarterback to run. I would just call it every time. I would still call them the plays. Yes. 4 verticals, and my coaches all know it. They know it. There's no better play call.
That's a mic drop right there. I can't wait to see that first possession week 1. Coach, thanks very much for hanging out with us, man. You were just the best,
so awesome.
and we love everything you do for the city. And just me personally, you're one of my favorite people to cover.
Yeah.
So
y'all are fun to do it. Yeah, y'all are a lot of the reason why Carrie and I are. Everybody in this city has been that way to us, and I try to explain to everybody, like the people in San Antonio are just different. It's just everybody, from media to leadership. I think the Spurs have a lot to do with that, just their culture and how their fans have been so loyal to them, and they've been so loyal back to the city. It's just kind of who this city is. There's not a cooler city in the country. I mean that.
Head coach Jeff Traylor. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate
God bless.
it, Coach.
God bless.
Birds up. Thank y'all for doing that.